Thanks for joining me this afternoon. In this video, we're going to be removing the fuel injectors and fuel injection pump from this TS115A here. I diagnosed the engine miss on this tractor to being a problem with the fuel injection pump. We've done compression tests, leak down tests, all kind of stuff. I'll put a link over there to that stuff, so check that out if you want the backstory on this tractor. So to start, we are going to remove our fuel injectors, because in addition to having the injection pump rebuilt, since these injectors have the same amount of hours on them, I'm going to have them done also. All right, first thing you need to do when you're going to remove your injectors is make sure the system's depressurized. I've already done that, but if you haven't, what you'll do is just crack the line a little bit and let it basically breathe. But once you do one cylinder, that's all you got to worry about. So you'll go down through here and disconnect the fuel lines that go to each injector. All right, with our injector lines removed, there are two different ways to do this. One, you can just take those lines and bend them out of the way, but I really don't like doing that because it's hard on them. So since we're removing the injection pump as well as the lines, I'm going to come around here and disconnect these lines at the pump because they have to come off regardless. And then I am going to loosen these clamps up here so we can take them loose without having to bend them. Now with all of those loose, the next step is to remove the return line. Here's our bolt. You can see it's hollow and there's the hole drilled through it sideways. So we're going to take our return line assembly and the lines it is clamped to and just lift those up out of the way. And the next step is going to be to actually pull these injectors. So we'll drop down over that hold down and take it out. But we're going to pull that out and it's going to bring the whole injector with it. It's loose, so now we'll just grab the injector and pull up. And I'll show you one of these injectors better when we get in here in a second. Now that one's a little stuck. That will happen. And there are a couple of ways you can deal with it. First, if we're lucky, that nut is going to hold well enough I can catch under it. Nope, just the nut. I was hoping the nut would pull the injector with it, but it didn't. Now when you pull on one of these injectors, when you pry on it, you want to avoid the threads and you want to avoid the hole for your return line and you want to avoid the round part down here where it seals. So take a pair of vice grips or go buy a special injector puller. Nothing wrong with that either if you're going to be doing this regularly. But take your vice grips and clamp them on the two flat sides of the injector at the top. There we go. And you can see I grabbed 90 degrees off from the hole. There's nothing to be hurt where I picked it up at. All right, I've got these injectors out and I want you to see them. The way they work is the injection pump sends a pulse of high pressure fuel at a specified time to this injector. It flows in through the top and straight out through the bottom, basically. This little copper seal on the bottom of the injector seals into the head, and then this nut, well, that one doesn't want to slide, but this nut catches on the injector and holds the whole thing tight into the cylinder. Now, over here to remove our injection pump, I've already disconnected the lines to the injectors. The next thing we got to disconnect is the fuel lines from the supply pump. This tractor has two fuel pumps. Like a lot of mechanical diesels, you have a lift pump that brings fuel from the tank. The lift pump sends that fuel over here to the injection pump. The injection pump handles all your timing and firing and stuff like that. So even though we're just removing the injection pump, we're going to have to remove the lift pump as well. The reason for that is because there is a cam lobe behind this pump that we need to be able to see to ensure we have the timing correct for our injection pump. But I'm going to talk more about that when I get into the injection pump here in a second. Theoretically, you could just unbolt that injection pump now, but if you do that, you are going to create a lot of extra work for yourself when you go to reassemble this. Your injection pump controls your fuel and timing, so it's got to be timed correctly with the gears that drive it inside the engine of the tractor. So what we have to do now is disconnect the battery, remove the starter, and once we remove the starter on this particular engine, there's a hole, there's an alignment hole inside there that we need to access. See, like I said in another video, I pressure washed this tractor for 3 hours, and it could stand another 3. So what we're doing down here is we're looking for an alignment hole in the flywheel. And we've got to turn the engine around until it comes up. There it is, there it was, right there. If you have the factory tool, drop it down in there to secure it. If you don't, use something else. Be very gentle. So now that our engine is locked in place, we're going to come around here and remove the lift pump, priming pump, and check our cam to see if the cam is in the right location, which means our injection pump is in the right location. And there's the lift pump. The way this lift pump works is the cam comes around and there's a lobe on that cam that pushes up on this arm right here, and I can sort of do it by hand, but it causes it to pump fuel. All right, so we've got our engine turned around, and the way you can tell is you come down here where the lift pump is, and if you look in that hole, you can see there's the cam lobe right there. And I know it's tough, but on either side of that cam lobe, there's a little ridge on the camshaft. That is the indicator that you have this thing lined up in the correct place. So now that we've identified the cam lobe, we've got the engine in the right spot, it's time to remove the pump. This pump handles all the timing for the engine and handles putting fuel to the injectors at the right spot. So with the engine at #1 top dead center and locked in place, we've got to lock our pump in place as well. So you'll come down here, loosen this hold down bolt, and remove that little metal tab. Little metal tab. Take it out, hold on to it, and then tighten this bolt, and it will lock the fuel pump in place. Now, since I'm having my pump rebuilt, this is not a critical step for me, because the injection pump shop they will have to disassemble this entire pump, and it will be up to them to, when I get this pump back, they should have it timed correctly. They should have this pump timed to #1 top dead center. Now we need to unbolt the pump.
Way above my head.
Nah, it's not as bad as it looks. If I can do it, anybody can do it. All right, so here's the injection pump removed. You've got 2 studs here, you've got 1 bolt here. This bracket has to come off so there's room. I tried to film that, but the camera battery died literally as it was sliding out. But here's our injection pump. Here's where it's driven by the gear train in the back. Here's our box of injectors. That pump's going in this box. All these little rubber fuel transfer lines are going to be replaced. And the TS115 is going to be without an injection pump for 3 to 4 weeks most likely. When I finish this tractor and get it running and get the hitch fixed and get everything fixed, I'm going to do a video and I'm going to give you real exact hard numbers on what this tractor cost, what the repairs have cost, and we can figure out whether or not I got a good deal. It's a lot of work, and a lot of people have questioned why you would buy something that needs this much work, but it was cheap. Sometimes that's a good reason, sometimes it's not. But either way, here I am. So this, you might see in a couple of other videos because the light control up there, none of my lights work. The 3-point hitch still isn't working correctly, and that top SCV still isn't working correctly. So make sure you hit subscribe, hit that little bell notification icon so you get notified when all those new videos come up. Hit like if you enjoyed this video, and yeah, thanks for watching. More later.